Dennis, how are you in this lovely evening? Unscheduled evening.
Better and better, as it turns out.
Because we have a schedule, and we try to stick to it. But then sometimes you say, hey, are we recording tonight? And I have to say, we weren't going to, but sure.
So you're barely ready. It takes so much prep. You have to answer the phone, and then you have to talk, and then we hang up.
That's what you do, yes. I do more preparation for this. I have detailed notes. I have outline of where we're going to go every episode.
Oh, big drop there, buddy. Sorry.
And I know exactly what we're going to talk about, and I direct you indirectly about what sort of tool we're going to talk about this evening, and what sort of...
Be an interesting question this week, given the work that I've been doing. So I think
Tell me about your work, Dennis.
The tool?
About your work. What have you done?
In my work. In the shed, I put up some pegboard, and the tool of the day. So corrugated tin metal roofing.
Yeah.
It's like a squiggle, right? It's wavy. Up and down, up and down. You know, picture it. Give me a nod of your head if anything comes to mind.
I can see it.
Okay.
Undulating.
Imagine that when you lay those on the wood that supports it, there's a undulating gap underneath the tin.
As there would be, yes.
Up and down, little humps, little bumps, little waves. So they make a light styrofoam pre-cut stuffing that is flat on the bottom in the exact same curves of the corrugated metal roofing on the top. It comes in strips.
It's right in there.
So the story on this stuff is that I went to the local Home Depot and, do you have this? And they looked, well, no, we don't. We can get it online. I said, I don't want to wait online. So the store up the road, the store up the road gets it.
Yeah.
The store up the road has it. It's 9 miles away. It's a 25-minute trek. So I go up there. I go to metal roofing. I buy these styrofoam things. They say, cool. I buy 2 packs, 3 packs. They're $6 a piece. I come home, take them out of the packet. I set them down. Don't do anything for weeks. Pick them up and realize that the metal for which I bought the stuffing was shaped other than the corrugated stuff that I wanted.
Oh no!
Instead, it was a flat piece, a little bump, a flat piece, and a little bump. And I'm quite familiar with that design. I said, oh, shit. I got to go all the way back.
The wrong undulation.
I went all the way back. I said, of course, there's 2 different kinds. There was next to each other. So I went in the box that had the ones I wanted, and I grabbed 3 more, and I paid for them, traded them off. I drove home, set them down. A little while passed, and I went to use them. I had traded in the same exact ones that I bought.
You're such a fucking moron.
I did it again. And at this point, I'm alone out there all the time. And I'm out there, and I say out loud, so anyone could hear, even walking by, I said, what in the fuck are you thinking? You've got to go back? Oh.
You stupid fuck. Yeah.
So I went back this time, or the last time, and looked, well, damn if they only had 1 bag of 5 left, and I needed 3 bags.
Bullshit.
I'm like, I went up front, this can't be. Well, let's see. You can order them online. I'm like, I don't want to order them on here. And the guy looked at his computer, his little handheld, where we were standing where they're supposed to be, and your system showed 25 bags, but they're not there. And she said, we usually don't make mistakes like that. And I said, how many to a box? And she said, good question, 25. So I went back to the aisle, and instead of looking where they were supposed to be, I looked across the way.
Where they weren't supposed to be.
There were 2, where they weren't supposed to be, of course, 2 boxes stacked, one of the kind I wanted, and one of the kind that I didn't want, and sure enough, ripped it open. End of story. I bought 4 bags, and I thought, I don't want to have to come back. So now that I'm done with the work, guess what? I have a whole nother bag that I have to take back. I got to take 4 trips. 4 trips, 20 minutes apiece, and there's no other reason for me to go there except for these things.
Right.
This is a road up. One time I went there
so clever.
And took a wrong turn, ended up in the wrong town. So I made a 20-minute there, 20-minute trip into over an hour and a half. It was pleasant enough. I was riding around. Who cares? I'm just touring. Yeah. It's not like I'm real busy. So that's not only the tool of the day, but it's the story of the tool of the day right there. But now they're stuffed, and no water leaves, debris will blow into my corrugated roof shed open areas. They're called end caps.
End caps, obviously.
End caps.
Yes.
Foam, metal roofing, end caps.
That's great that there's a standard undulation formula. such that...
At least there is with these U.S. products.
Yes. Who knows what the European millimeters and whatnot.
Who knows? But the other thing is that if you went to a corrugated roofing that had this undulation, but you were doing a massive warehouse...
Yes.
I could imagine with the longer sheets that the undulations would be broader and perhaps a little bit more rugged.
Broader, rugged undulations.
Broader, rugged, thicker.
That's the way the Europeans are, man. It's just
readier,
hardier, faster, stronger,
hardier.
Yes, that's really interesting that you are such a moron that you have to drive 4 times to your local place and.
Right. It's just what I do.
No, but that's a. I think everyone that has ever tried to do any sort of work in well, that's that didn't go anywhere. Yes, you're dumbass.
What are you drinking? Because for a night it's not scheduled. You seem to be pretty happy. Did I just catch you on a bender?
No.
Your regular Monday night bender? On again, off again. Oh man, we changed it to Wednesdays, man.
So
it doesn't matter to me. Just give me a call.
I have some news related to work done to my house this past week. Breaking news. So this second apartment that we purchased that is across the hall from mine, with
a view,
with a lovely view, we needed to replace the reason that it's a lovely view is that it's a view south, which is where we are. It's a view towards where the sun is. Always the sun rises.
So it's dried out.
And the wood, it was just terrible. So we decided that we needed to change that wooden door and window that was facing south to be aluminum, which is way stronger and better against the elements. So we talked to 2 or 3 different companies, local companies, that can change our doors and change our door and window to aluminum. And man, it was so hard to. I don't know if they just have so much business that they just can't be bothered, but it was tough to actually get them to come around and do the measurement and stuff.
They have too much business. And home improvement is soared under the pandemic, because people are stuck home.
Well,
so all those projects that they were going to do, they're doing.
I guess, yeah, sure. And so we contracted them in July. It's now the end of November, and we said, hey, we want to change this to aluminum. In Spain, we have these blinds that close down over doors and windows that are like it's an aluminum thing that comes down over and totally covers the window. It's not a thing that exists in America that I've seen, but
because it so absolutely blackens it.
Yes, but that's not why it doesn't exist. It's just not a thing. Like here, it both provides darkness, which I guess is for, I don't know, having your siesta in the afternoon, but also security, like it covers your window with metal.
Oh, really?
In such a way that...
They're metal.
Yeah. It's a strange phenomenon. Apparently, this exists in Spain and Italy and Greece and nowhere else. This is just a Mediterranean phenomenon.
Is it required by code?
No, it's not. But it is expected and typically installed. But anyway, so this version that was 20 years old, so what it is this roll of these aluminum slats that roll down over the window. Yeah. And before, the roll was bigger than it has to be now because we've done more technology, blah, blah, blah.
To make it thinner.
Right. So this box that has to be on top of the window to roll down over the window is now smaller. So. Is it
electric?
No. It is
manual.
There's a rope that you pull out and let down, and then a rope that you pull up in. And there are electric ones, but they're super rich people. And we are not rich because no one goes to no one goes to patreon.com/happy hour. And so because the box that is on top of the door window thing doesn't need to be as big, we said, hey, can we make this a little bit bigger? Because I'm 6 feet tall and I can get through the door, but it would be nicer if it was taller. So
6'2" door?
I don't know exactly what the measurement is.
You don't hit your head, but you feel like you almost have to duck.
So there's a step up and
Right.
or a step down, depending on which way you're going. But it would be nicer if it was taller. And when we spoke to these people in June and July, we said, hey, we'd like to replace these. We want it just like it is now, but now that the boxes for the blinds seem to be smaller, we'd like it to be taller. And they said...
And the door and the window are all one unit?
That
the blinds go over the top of?
No, they're not. They're two separate.
But the blinds are over both? One blind?
No.
Or is there one for the door
blinds.
and one for
It's two separate blinds.
Oh.
They are they're nearby, but there were always two separate blinds.
Okay, gotcha. I'm with you.
So
you wanted it taller. Okay.
We wanted it taller. And so we said in July, hey, we have evaluated our different quotes, and we have decided to go with you. When can you install this? And they said, in Spain in August, everything sort of shuts down because of summer vacation, and which has always been true. Even less now than before, but 20 years ago in August, there was no work done in Spain because it's just, right. I don't know if it's just too hot or there's just a custom of taking that month off. But anyway, they said, yeah, we'll do that. So September came around and we said, hey, is it ready yet? And they said, oh, yeah, we're so overbooked from all the stuff that we were supposed to do in August that September is totally out of the question. Okay. So anyway, October came around and they said, no, not really now. And November, and then they said, yeah, November, soon in November. And anyway, long story short, they came last week and they took away our old wooden window and door and put in the new aluminum one. And it's fucking smaller than it was before. Oh. So they were halfway through.
You don't have to duck, though.
But it's not. I did before, but if one time we're going to break the fucking wall, we might as well get it.
Yeah, it's a little late for that now.
So they were halfway through this.
Oh, halfway.
They had it installed, but there were still like cracks around the side that they needed to fill in to finish the job.
You said, hey.
And I went over there and I said, we wanted this bigger than before. And the guys that were doing the work were not the guy that makes the decisions for the company. And they said, oh, so the problem is they had to go and manufacture this whole aluminum door frame to the specs that they had measured. And they went and they did that, and then they brought it over and they installed it, and it's not correct. They spent all of this money and time building this door frame that is not what we asked for. And so I had to tell them, look, this is not what we said. And so the guy said, you need to talk to my boss. And so he called his boss and gave me his phone, and I talked to his boss in my best ever negotiating in Spanish moment ever. And I said, look, we said we wanted it bigger. And
did he remember? Was it in writing?
Nothing was in writing.
Oh no. Oh boy.
But however, it very quickly he said, oh, he didn't fight back at all. He was like, oh, this isn't what I thought you wanted. So what needed to happen was the window had to be one height and the door had to be slightly taller.
Yes.
And when he came over and did all the measurements, and we said, we want the door to be taller. And he said, that means it's not going to line up with the window. And
you said, that's okay.
We don't want it. We don't want that. We want the door taller. And after 4 months had passed, after we had spoken, and he apparently...
You got even taller.
And he hadn't written that down. Then he made them both the same, because why wouldn't you make them both the same? Because they should be the same in general. That's the general rule. But we had specifically said not to make it like that. I spoke to him, and he said, oh, okay, I will come and talk to you.
He must have remembered.
So the fact that he didn't fight back suggests to me that he was like, oh, I might have fucked up. And it kills me to reject work that someone has done that means that this particular project is going to be a loser for their company. But also, it's not my fault that they did it wrong.
Right.
So it's like, look, we asked for this thing, you did it wrong. I'm sorry that you did it wrong, and it's going to be a loser for your company. But
having it in writing would have, in hindsight, would have been even more valuable for you then,
right?
Because that would have meant that he wouldn't have made the mistake. And you're right; it's not up to you.
When I was telling him, he was writing stuff down.
He was there in person.
He was writing things down.
Yeah.
But do I have a copy of what he wrote down? No, I do not.
No, but he's got it.
Yeah. So anyway,
stuck in the folder. But yeah, you're in your rights.
So that was on Friday. Today's Monday. And he said on Friday, oh, yeah, Monday I will get up with you and talk to you about it. But
Oh yeah,
but
he
he
did
didn't.
talk to them. He did.
So
And you know what?
tomorrow's
It's
Tuesday,
almost
and I'm
August.
going to call it.
You know what? It's almost August.
Yeah.
Is the door on there though?
The door's there.
The door and the window are on there, so they're installed. So there's no wind or breeze coming in. So you're good just to wait.
Well,
In a manner of speaking.
there are cracks around it that were not filled in because
Are they covered with plastic for now?
no.
Oh Lord,
But
they're coming right into the apartment.
but it's not an apartment where we live. It's a secondary.
Well, what's the difference? A bug will get in there. A mouse can get in there. You know how big a hole you have to have for a mouse to get in? The size of a fucking head on a dime. The head, not the dime. The head on the dime.
We don't get
Mice have got retractable bones, man. They turn into fucking snakes when they fucking crawl into small places. Their skull even fucking collapses.
We don't get
They're like the accordion bone system.
we don't get a lot of mice on the 7th floor though.
Big mice. The ones that climb up the side of the building
Flying
using the
mice.
windows. The flying mice. Do they have those in Spain?
I mean,
Or only
what
in
are
your
bats?
building?
Right?
Down and out. You remember the famous flying mice of The Wizard of Oz? Those were pretty interesting. The bats, the flying monkeys were chasing them.
Monkey.
Down, oh-wee-yo, oh-yo, oh-wee-yo, oh-yo, the scariest marching in the world. Oh-wee. They ended up to be good guys, though.
Yeah.
Became loyal to Dorothy.
Good little guys.
Yeah,
So
I miss them.
you missed the flying monkeys.
Oh, soldiers, the marching soldiers.
Dennis,
Yes, sorry,
should
you
we
lost me there a minute.
talk about the season and probably series finale of
Yes,
Undulated?
definitely. See, yeah, yes,
And
definitely. It's not you have a second season by any stretch. The finality of episode 4 left us both with a holy shit.
episode 5.
Did the kid do it? What the fuck? And I said he's hiding it for his grandfather. As it turns out, we find out in the beginning of episode 5. To take away, they started episode 5 without any advantage of the momentum in drama
True.
that they caused at the end of 4, and just showed this kid
Yeah.
somehow finding this
6.
fucking hammer in a paper bag hidden outside in a fireplace, in a paper bag. Now,
That was weak.
this is so stupid that this oncologist or his wealthy financier grandfather, who's that stupid? And then how come there aren't any fingerprints? We find out very quickly afterwards he ran it through the dishwasher twice. Okay, let me get this straight. You're in a summer house with your mother, right? And you're so unsupervised, or there's so lack of interaction, that not only once did you run a dishwasher without your mother saying, "Why are you running the dishwasher? What's in the
too.
dishwasher?" But you did it twice.
The hammer washer.
How did that happen? Twice? What did you stay up all night? And where was your mother? Couldn't hear that in her bedroom in the summer house? Well, wait a minute. Did the person who hid the hammer? Obviously, it wasn't you. Which, letting us hold on to that was astounding. Oh my God, could it be? It lasted only the closing of the episode. It didn't carry over at all.
Are you saying there were
It
plot
was
holes?
an abysmal episode. It was abysmal. It was abysmal. And the attorney leaning over to him and saying, "What was his name?"
You didn't throw it with a hammer.
Huh?
What?
Yeah. What? How stupid could you be that you didn't get rid of the hammer? What? And
Also,
what?
at the very beginning, Grace calls her blonde lawyer friend and says, "Can we go for a walk? And I want you to do something for me." And that something to do for me is never explained. It was just like, I thought, oh, this is one of those things where the character
Let's
says,
explain.
"What did you do?"
She said to her, "You need to tell the defense attorney, you need to tell the prosecutor that I said that he had a narcissistic personality." That's what they're talking was, and that's why you knew that in fact, as the murderer, the doc, realized after it became clear that she fucked him, she threw him under the bus, that's how she did it. She had said to her friend, that's why after she admitted that on the stand, and for reasons totally incomprehensible, she was allowed to leave the courtroom and left,
Right.
and was escorted out. The woman, who in fact didn't betray Grace by telling the prosecutor, but in fact did Grace's bidding, because she ran out of the courtroom and Grace immediately took her hand.
I saw that, yeah.
if you didn't know, and I didn't put that together at the moment, and one of the reasons that it wasn't easily put together because they weren't all that committed to it.
Yeah.
It you know,
I never liked.
It was sort of like this unfolding. Did the prosecutor just luck out? And how did this happen? And they tried to create this little piece of drama. I don't know, man. I give the last. I was only giving the motherfucker 7 out of 10, 6 or 7 out of 10 each episode. This I'd give a fucking 2.
Yeah.
What a waste. By the time they show the actual murder, it's
Yeah, I don't care about any of these characters anymore. Yeah, it's.
And he's taking him to go eat clams somewhere, and his son says, "Dad, you murdered a person. You got to pull over." And he doesn't. And then to make it even weirder, he climbs up on the bridge to commit suicide. And he doesn't commit suicide. He doesn't.
Right, that would have been so much.
He climbs down and he starts ordering his wife to come to him and give me a hug.
Yeah.
And it would have been a much more dramatic ending if they would have showed him in slow motion,
right,
drifting down toward the fucking water with a fucking weird look on his face of what? Mirth, joy, peace, insanity, something. But you never, I don't know, man. I'm not happy with it.
Yeah, the casting of Hugh Grant, who has charisma running through his veins, like he's just such a generally likable dude, in my opinion. To cast him as the murderer, such that we are thrown off of the scent of the murder because of his charisma, I don't know.
I don't know. You got to hold on a second. I got to yell. I put meat in the oven when we had our little break there, and I set it for 30 minutes. I got to yell to my wife. Hang on. Hey, Nick, will you shut off the oven? All right, check it out. Baked Polish sausage and onions. The odor now is filling the house a bit. Just the gorgeous smell of Polish sausage juice, brining the onions into translucent, edible, just
God, I'm hungry.
Insanity. Big hunks of onion too, not these little chopped onion bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't need a spoon for these babies. You fork them.
Proper fucking onions. That's what I'm talking about.
Proper onions. You know, like these little tiny ones. You use a spoon or something just to eat them. These are proper onions, big chunks. Eat. What size of a piece of carrot? Same size.
Proper chunks of onions.
Proper. Mercy. So it just goes on and on. The craziness with Trump goes on. He says, I got the best people. They're Supreme Court advocates. They're advocates. They're lawyers. I got the best. And he can't. There isn't a court in the land that will do anything other than dismiss these outrageous claims. And he's still holding out hope that somehow. So he goes to Georgia, and he's not going to Georgia. He's going to Georgia personally, but the campaign is promoting Georgia. But what they're telling the Georgia voters is that the governor's crooked, the Secretary of State's crooked, the election is rigged, the first one was rigged, the next one is rigged, and the voters, so the Trumpists are saying, so why would I vote? What are you telling me? So I shouldn't vote, then it's rigged and it's great. No, we want you to worry about after you vote. And the voters are like, this doesn't make any sense. And Trump did this thing, his first interview, he never mentioned the candidates' names. Just talked about the hapless governor and he should quit. He's ashamed he ever endorsed him. He's eating the Republican Party alive in Georgia. And yet he's running for the people who are what? The establishment Republican Party in Georgia. How does this work, Donald? Then Biden breaks his foot. Did you read that?
Biden did what now?
Broke his foot playing with the dog. He's going to wear a boot.
He tried to kick his dog?
We're going to have the first ever president inaugurated in a fucking boot.
With crutches.
We're going to call it the limping inauguration. Just to further emphasize his age. I can't get up to the podium.
As long as the inauguration is wheelchair accessible. I think we can still have precedence. Yeah.
And I just got done saying, tell me if this wasn't the last episode that I said he's going to announce his candidacy the day of the inauguration. A report said he's talking to his campaign people about holding a counter event on Inauguration Day to, if not announce his candidacy, to indicate that he's thinking about announcing his candidacy on January 20th.
So, I remember I watched live in the year 2001 when Clinton left office and gave it to George W. Bush. I watched that. It was raining that day, and I was in my apartment. No? Yes, I was. I watched that day, and I remember seeing this transition, and then I remember watching the next one from W to Barack, and how elegant that was, and of one leaving in a helicopter. They walk down. Yeah. They walk down the steps, and they get into a helicopter, and they're like, "See ya, good luck." And this one is going to be so different. It's going to be so antagonistic. It's going to be so like. I predicted several episodes back that he was going to be live tweeting during the inauguration about the shitty crowd, what a loser.
Well,
but
until the mid 1800s, the loser did not attend the inaugurations. The length of time between the election, the Electoral College, and the inauguration was so distant that when the person who lost, literally getting on a train and leaving and going back to where they were living,
right.
They didn't stick around for that.
Sure.
It was like, and there was no media. You know, there was no tracking their movement. They either showed up or they didn't. It wasn't that big of an event at the time, and then it became a tradition. It became a tradition, interestingly enough, and not soon afterwards, the guy stiffed. Who was it? Who stiffed it? Harrison?
Possibly.
Stiffed the incoming. Anyway, it's not totally without precedent. And
they always say, Harrison stiffed the incoming. It's a thing that we say amongst my friends.
I know.
Harrison
I must have said it 3 times a day apropos to what was happening.
Like, originally, for the first few presidents, the loser became the vice president.
Oh, I didn't know that. That didn't happen with George Washington.
No, there was no loser. Aside from Britain, am I right? But like Jefferson and those guys, when there were 2 candidates, the loser became the vice president, which... Oh,
because they were enemies to begin with.
Enemies to begin with, so...
At least political opponents.
I don't know if it was...
Perhaps not enemies. As Joe Biden...
Adams or Quincy Adams or somebody...
we don't have to make our opponents into our enemies. That's Uncle Joe.
Yeah, man. Why we gotta be against our enemies, man? Let's all just love each other.
He's in a booth.
What?
In a booth. There are no pictures so far. Hey, where's my cane? Kamala! Kamala! Where's my cane? Where's my speech? Come on!
That sounds like someone in Canada. A boot.
Why? A boot. Where's my cane? I needed to boot me. Playing with his dog's My Ass. He tripped over his computer wire.
His dog is named My Ass?
Yeah, My Ass.
Okay.
It's Asian Pomeranian. My Ass.
You never hear My Ass? Yeah.
Come here, My Ass. Come here, pet my ass.
Who wants to...
Oh, is it
children? Who wants to play with my ass?
Have soft fur? Doesn't my ass have soft fur? Oh, I tell you, that baby loves it when you touch her.
Who wants to groom my ass? Children, gather around. Don't let my ass...
That famous song around the campfire that was named after the dog? Coom my ass.
My lord.
Coom my ass, coom my ass, coom my ass, my lord, coom my ass. Touch my furry parts, oh my lord, touch my ass, rub my ass.
There you go.
It's an old camping favorite.
I mean, when you go camping with Uncle Joe,
who knows what goes on?
So, Dennis, I have this magazine that was in a suitcase of mine for a long time, and then has been on my desk for the last 6 months, that you gave me, called Why Did Joe Run? And you gave me this in February, and you said, this Joe guy, there's something about him. And I thought, there's no chance this Joe guy is doing that.
No chance.
So he's so boring.
Return to character.
And here we are. And now that magazine is worth $25,000, I think.
Hey, so I found a penny when I was cleaning out the cupboards at this old house, and I realized that when we moved in, we didn't take the drawers out of this inlaid cupboard, and behind the inlaid cupboard there was debris and some old mouse droppings and whatnot. So while I was cleaning it out, I found a penny.
Did you?
And I thought, this could be fortuitous. And I can't read with even my reading glasses what a penny says, for God's sake. So I have a magnifying glass up here, and I looked at it, and I said, oh, my God, it's a 1954 D,
Whoa.
meaning it was stamped in Denver. But 1954. What are we thinking here? It's a long damn time ago. So I looked it up.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I saw was one was for sale on eBay for $2,495.
What?
And then right below that, there was another one that you could buy 10 of them for $1. So I threw the second one away. I discarded the second ad. No, so I got this little tiny. It's made out of a stone. It's a little capsule.
Wait, hold on. So I just did a quick look up of the 1954 D wheat penny. Wheat.
Yes, because of the wheat leaf on the back. And you'll note too that in that year,
at an average value of 15 cents, once certified mint state could be worth up to
how much?
Could be worth up to $4.
How much with mouse stained debris on it in two places?
Let me see. That's $16,000 with the mouse debris.
Wow. So have I ever told you about the postage, the stamp collection that I have that was given to me when I was a boy, when I was about 12 by my father? This would have been in 1965.
Tell me.
And he gave it to me at the death of my great uncle Frank.
What a way to celebrate.
Who was one of three brothers who came over from Germany back in the day, and he was a stamp collector when he was a boy. He died almost 90 years old in 1965. That meant that he was born in 1885.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was a boy. It wasn't the turn of the century. It was the late 1800s, and he was collecting stamps. And in this book that he had, about a 4.5 by 11 book with about 20 pages in it, were all the countries of the world. And he, for years, he collected stamps from all over the world, and he put them in this book.
Okay.
Now, there's probably 30 or 40 countries in this book. There's 8 or 10 of them that aren't countries anymore.
I know, right?
And all the stamps from that ancient, now defunct country are in this book. Imagine, what do you think this is worth?
You'd have to send it. You'd have to send it to me, and then I could evaluate.
Exactly my biggest fear. Exactly my biggest fear.
My only when I was a kid, I don't know, whatever someone suggested, hey, you should collect stamps. So when the post office released, like every month or so, they would release this. Oh, we're doing new dinosaur stamps this month, and you could go and you could buy a sheet that was uncut, a sheet of stamps.
Yes.
And I would take those. It would cost like $4 or whatever, and I would put those into a notebook somewhere, and presumably that still exists in my parents' house somewhere.
And never take them out of the sheath.
Yeah. I remember maybe 10 years ago, I discovered that there exists a stamp that commemorates my great-great-great-grandfather's trip to America on a Viking replica ship, which is a topic I don't know if we've discussed. Are you going to talk about that?
What? Your great-great-great-great-grandfather has a stamp?
Yeah, okay.
Or the ship?
Okay.
Commemorates the ship he was on.
Okay, so it commemorates the ship. But I remember...
Still.
All right, let's talk about this. I am
talking about
this. Is one of the most interesting things about my heritage, really. They...
okay.
2 out of 4. I remember when I was in 5th or 6th grade, we were studying the Vikings, and I raised my hand and I said, my great-great-great-grandfather came over on a Viking ship. And my teacher said, yeah, whatever. Because
you knew you were lying.
Because that would be ridiculous.
Not in a Viking ship, but it was a replica.
But what she didn't know was that for the, let's see, for the 1892 World's Fair, for the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago, they were having this big thing that was like a 400-year anniversary of Columbus coming over and discovering America, and that was going to be a big thing because it was 400 years since that had happened. And some people in Norway said, "Wait a minute, we pretty much know that the Vikings were over in America before the Southern Europeans, And so they had recently discovered a Viking ship that they had uncovered just archaeologically, and they recreated that, and they said, we're gonna go and prove that this Viking ship that is a replica of this one from the 14th century definitely could have made it over to America. And so they built this thing, and they had a lot of trouble getting insurance and investors and stuff to help fund it, but eventually it got made. And one of the sailors on that was my grandfather's grandfather, Rasmussen.
From Sweden.
No, from Norway.
From Norway.
From Norway, yeah. And so they...
We're going to go to America and go to build a sauna. In order to jump in the sauna, then into the creek naked.
The sauna is more of a Finland thing, but yes. And they built this thing, and they decided to go and upset this Columbus exhibition at the World's Fair, just to be trolls about it. So the Columbus team sailed from Spain and had a bunch of ships around that had this whole flotilla around them that was sailing over with them with these replicas of the Pinta and Santa Maria.
Right.
But these Norwegian guys just took their own ship, and there was nobody with them. And they, on this tiny little ship, it's tiny, 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 and they sailed all the way across and got there, and the captain of the ship got to go to the White House to talk to the president, and it was a big deal. And they showed it, and then they made it all the way around through the Great Lakes to Chicago, where the World's Fair was.
Who was the president? Who was the president? Harding?
The World's Fair, called the World's Columbian Exposition. That's how important Columbian, back in the day when Columbia was synonymous with America. I don't know how true that is. President Benjamin Harrison.
Huh. As it turns out, the dude who didn't show up for the fucking inauguration.
No fucking... Yes.
Whoa.
That's true, man.
Yes, get out.
So anyway, to get back to the stamps. So this is a thing that happened, and I have this commemorative thing that I have framed with all the crew members on it. And I discovered that there is a stamp that was made at some point that's... Yes. There's a stamp made in 1925 commemorating this ship, the North American Centennial. And so anyway, I discovered that this stamp exists. So I started to look, let's see if I can get one of these stamps. And I found this stamp available from a guy, I swear to you, from Newton, North Carolina.
Newton. Wow.
And
right where we live.
And so I asked...
Where I worked.
Yeah. So I paid him $20 or whatever it cost for this, and he sent me this stamp in that. But what I found hilarious was he sent me this to Spain, so it was an envelope, but there were 25 different 2-cent stamps on the damn thing, because he had all these extra stamps. He was, I gotta send this, and it's gonna cost me 70 cents to send this, so I'm gonna put all these little stamps that I have to send this. Anyway, I think I still have the envelope somewhere. But I got the stamp, and I had it framed. I have it hanging on my wall, next to the other.
That's where I would put it too.
Because
you should blow it up and turn it into a poster.
There you go. Although I like how it's a big frame.
You can do both.
Around a tiny little stamp.
You can do both.
I can do both.
It's not a rule that you can only do one or the other.
I'm allowed.
Yeah. You could actually could do a little research and find out without too much trouble all the other people around that boat with your
I know who they are.
grandfather's grandfather.
Yeah.
And make a poster for each of them, and also accompany it with a small frame one, and you could sell them each for $1,000.
So I blogged about this journey 10 years ago, and I have received communications from relatives of mine that are like, "Hey, that's also my great grandfather. I think we're relatives." And
it could be a moneymaker. The posters could go for, realistically, posters would go for $110.
Yeah.
Make 100 of them, it's $1 million almost. Or 100,000, depending on how you do your math.
I mean, math. Who cares about math?
Depending on you do math. It's fake math.
Yeah.
So did you send? So there was this stuff going on about Trump answering his first question since the election, while he was signing something, and for reasons that nobody knows, rather than sign it where he regularly signed it, they set up this little desk, and they put a chair behind it.
Yes.
And the memes were just small hands, small desk, small soul.
Yeah.
And praising the guy who figured out to put the little desk there. And,
who credit to that person?
Yes.
Who figured, like, the optics of this. Let's have this big dude sitting at a little tiny children's desk. And when I have gone in to meet with my kids' school teachers, it's super awkward because we go into the class and I sit on this thing where my knees are higher than the desk, and I'm sitting squatting on this chair that is for or whatever, and it's the images felt so much like that, of a little boy sitting at his desk answering questions, just a little baby boy. Yeah, classic. That's going to be one of the images in the coffee table book of his presidency. Or the coffee table hologram that our grandfather.
And he becomes more and more cartoonish, and he's a fucking crackpot. He's a crackpot. And people are starting to question, say, now, wait a minute. These Republicans who are going to follow him, how long is that really going to last? The guy is lost and lost and lost and lost and lost. Is he really going to chill out all the other candidates for 2024 just by acting like he's going to maybe run and then they can't announce because they're disloyal to him? What? Losers have a way of losing their reputation, and why should he be any different, particularly if his legal woes are so serious that they take up his time and attention? It's not like he's got the ability to attend to more than one little thing at once.
If his legal woes, as you describe them, do not incapacitate him either in prison or he has shown himself to be, you cannot defeat him on politics. No one can go up against him in his own party and win because he is just so intriguing to the base. And
as it stands now,
as it has been up until now, yes. But
the electorate, Trump built this base in a surprising manner over the course of his first campaign, which lasted about a year. So one would think that what can rise up within a year can actually collapse within a year as well, particularly if there are things that could happen, not the least of which is Trump's health. He's not going to have, of course, he's always going to have expert medical care as a former president, but I don't know. He could trip and fall.
But the weirdest thing about him is his energy. And I've heard so many people talk about how someone his age, with his diet, with his lifestyle, should not have the energy to go and do all these rallies and do this and do that and not just collapse in a pile.
But it's all he does all day long. It's all he does. He travels to a place, he spends a few hours, and he's done. It's not a sustained thing.
He's not running marathons.
He's not doing. Of course, he was doing 2 or 3 of them a day. So you're right about that.
Yeah. So at the end of the campaign, he had some crazy energy that most people of that age, especially with that diet and lifestyle, would not have. And he's a freak in that health space.
It's addicted to adrenaline, which in his case,
and who knows what other stimulants he's on.
Driven. Yes, that's true too. That's true.
But
imagine getting stoned with Trump. Oh my God! Show me the fucking door. I wonder if him and Obama got stoned together when Trump came to see him.
I'm guessing not. Obama stoned would be a fucking hoot and a half.
Yeah, he's one of his interviews he had the other day. His book is out. He's already sold 800,000. He's competing. He's the second most sales of a book of its nature. The first, of course, is his wife, which shattered all records. So between the two of them, they're to say it modestly, they're set for life. But in his interviews, he said, look, this kind of behavior, we wouldn't let a high school principal do this. We wouldn't let a teacher do this. We wouldn't let a mayor, a council person, we wouldn't let anybody do this. And yet we're letting the President of the United States do it. They said, that can't stand. And the interesting thing that's got to happen is that the degree that if there is Kamala Harris becomes the deciding vote in the Senate on close votes, because both Georgia seats go to the Democrats, which is probably pretty unlikely, frankly, but it's going to be a short majority for either party. But if they end up trying to change from just tradition, like the taxes thing is a tradition, and it's a modern tradition, and the inauguration is a tradition, whether anybody gives a fuck about that or not.
Right.
But that stuff can be put into law so that it isn't, oh, everybody's done it because everybody respects it. No, they don't. And think about the next Trump. Is it Donald Jr.?
No.
Who's young and could do this for the next 20 years? He doesn't have any of the charisma.
No, exactly.
Jerk.
Donald is a unicorn, a one-of-a-kind special snowflake that has this spark that ignites the loins of the electorate.
And a lot of world leaders historically had that little special something.
Right.
Hitler would be one of them. Mussolini would be another one, at least for a little while. FDR certainly had that following. There's few and far between, and for good or for ill.
I'm pretty sure I have that when I'm talking on a podcast. The magical je ne sais quoi that draws the listener to go to patreon.com/happyhour.
Sitting on the edge of my seat for an hour, wondering, oh my God, what is he going to say next? It's fucking amazing, the things that he says.
I know.
This family story about the Viking, oh my God, wow, it's 1 in a million.
I know, right?
I love this time with you, but it's over. I gotta go. I got sausage to eat, bro, with proper onions, man. Polar sausage, kielbasa, baked. I'm out, bro.
Good night, Dennis.
Good night, Erik. Good night, Erik. Good night, Erik. I'm sorry, I must go. Down to the sausage I'm gonna eat. Down to the sausage I'm gonna eat. Down to the sausage I'm gonna eat.
Got a wiener in your mouth?
Oh, down in Ohio. Ohio. Ohio.
Ohio.
Down Ohio. Down Ohio.
Good night. Okay, that does it for Happy Hour episode 87. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/087. If you'd like to help us build this masterpiece, you can go to patreon.com/happyhour and buy us around. We always love that. And here we go, barreling down towards Christmas. Good luck to everyone. Goodwill towards men. And we'll see you next week.